But that didn't work because when more modern parents heard they were going to be with their children for eternity, they got mad. So the Catholic Church has abandoned that. So basically, I think most Christians are now going for kids go straight to heaven, which means that since
abortion's awesome then, right?
Pardon?
Abortion's awesome then. They go straight to heaven.
The other thing is you can't use God as an argument against abortion and murder because God doesn't care about this. God designed the human reproductive system so badly it kills off most conceptions and so on. But assuming that that the conceptions have souls that go to hell if they die prematurely, that means the vast majority of happened to children who never went through a test on Earth, never did this free will thing or improved themselves. Again, it just exposes this thing as a sad, pathetic joke of an invention that people concocted and not thought through the consequences.
Yeah. And I will mildly disagree with you on one point. This idea of perfection, I would recommend avoiding, because in every in the versions of Christianity that I grew up with and am familiar with, it's not that you need to be perfect in order to get to heaven. It's that when you get there, God makes you perfect, which I actually think is a much stronger point to raise, because there's this idea that after, for example, pick random Christian, after they've died, they get to go to heaven. And my argument is that in much the same way that we have no good reason to think there's a soul, and plenty of good reason to think there's not anything remotely like a soul. If you get to heaven and you are perfect, and you are made perfect, and you are changed, whatever is in heaven isn't you anymore. And I think that's an important point to hit.
Well, the reason I said that was because that's what some of the theodists say.
Yeah.
I picked that up. So, there was probably disagreement here, but I'm not sure what to think. We'd have to mull it over some more.
Yeah. There's for every Christian, there's almost a different answer to this issue.
Well, of course.
Or at least there's one for every theologian who's managed to teach the various Christians, because evidently many of them haven't bothered to think about these issues for themselves. I found, during the course of my falling away from religion, I would read through the Bible, and of course I would ask God for guidance on this, and when no guidance came, I was left with purportedly the brain that God gave me to think it through, and it became rather obvious rather quickly that this was just absurd, if not outright immoral. And if you put together an entire system, which I think you've done kind of nicely here, where if you think about it from the perspective of this God being, and he has this goal of creating a universe for a particular race, species, whatever, that he's going to mold and guide to eventually join him in heaven. He's created a system that is not only grossly deadly in an immoral sense,
to the kids,
but also one that's just absurd at its face. Because even if you assumed that this God somehow spirited away the 50 billion and just gave them like a free pass to heaven,
what was the rest of us?
What was the point of putting them through those years of torture and the agonizing death in the first place? And for that matter, what's the point of putting anybody through it?
Exactly.
If he's all wise and knows everything that's going to happen, why not just skip to the end, put the people that he wants to have around him up in heaven with him, and get rid of the rest from the get-go without going through all the motions? I mean, this is.
I want to hear back from the theologians about this. Oh, another quick point is that God gave kids bad immune systems. He didn't even care about kids enough to give them decent immune systems to fight the diseases that he created.
Even worse, he gave them immune systems that are dependent on their mother. So if their mother's a batshit crazy anti-vaxxer, they're screwed. I can't begin to beat them up enough over that. But so thanks for leading into another good point.
Yeah.
On that note, Greg, I appreciate the call, and we've got like all the lines completely full, so I got to let you go today. Hopefully we'll get you back on. Hopefully we'll get you in Austin to actually talk to them about this at some point.
Okay.
All right. Thanks much.
Take it easy.
Thank you for your work, Paul.
Bye.
Or Greg. Greg.
So yeah, good stuff to look around for. You can just do a Google search for Gregory S. Paul, and you'll find not only the journal study that we've talked about before, but this new paper. Lots of things to look into there, and plenty to think about, because one of the things, like at the end there, I managed to disagree with him on one little fine point, but that's good.
Mm-hmm. It's healthy.
Because, first of all, there's no easy answer to any of this, because there's 1,000 different denominations of Christians with, countless people who all have their own ideas. And I think it just shows another absurdity in this proposed plan of a wise God when every individual sitting out there in the pew can have their own idea about this, and they are all completely convinced that they are the ones who have been chosen to go on and live forever in a heaven.
It's a great mind game,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's like the best self-gratifying. It's like better than masturbation to sit there and think that you are, I'm so special. Thank you for treating me so special. And I know that those, my terrible neighbors next door are going straight to hell because they're gay or Muslim or something like that. Look how much cooler my life is. And really, I think something that we haven't talked about enough that we really should is that with a handful of exceptions, and usually those exceptions are people who are having a really difficult time getting over religious indoctrination. Every atheist I've met who was previously religious has had nothing but positive things to say about how much more improved their life is. Not necessarily how much better their life is with regard to other people, because they are often ostracized and abused, fired, kicked out of their houses, things like that. But as far as how they feel about themselves, about their integrity, about their moral compass, about their ability to look around the world and in wonder and explore without the nagging guilt that is imposed by religion, I think that's a message that has to get out there so that the people who are currently trapped in fear can step out away from that. And we need to build communities around so that they have a place to go during that transition process and then be the next people to help after that.
Yeah.